What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm super excited to introduce to you my next guest. She's a nationally board certified teacher and highly respected international education consultant. And through her teachings, she's empowered hundreds of thousands of people around the world with neuroscience and cognitive capacity strategies that skyrocket excellence and success. You can actually learn all about these strategies and watch some of her keynote speeches over at her website. And she's also got a great newsletter that you want to sign up for. It's at effectiveteachingpd.com. So welcome to the show, Julie Adams.
Thank you, Corey. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm super stoked you're here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this and hopefully to share some of your insight and wisdom with our audience. Now, I was doing a little research to get ready for this interview, and I actually wanted to ask you a little bit more backstory on something funny that I heard you say in one of your videos. You mentioned one time, because you were a school teacher, that at a parent-teacher conference, you were given a bit of a backhanded compliment by one of your students. Something like, you look a lot smarter or funnier than you look, something like, you got to tell us about that.
Right. Yeah. So for many years, I taught middle school, and, there's no amount of education or training that you could receive that can fully prepare you for the beauty and the honesty of middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And it was the morning after back to school night, and one of my precious little 8th graders, he came to me and he said, "Hey, Mrs. Adams, what did you tell the parents last night? What was your shtick to the parents last night at back to school night?" And I said, "Well, why do you ask?" And he said, "Well, my parents came and they listened to your little spiel, and when they got home, they were talking about you." And I thought, oh gosh, what did they say? And he said, "Well, they said a lot of stuff about you, but ultimately they agreed that they are so thankful that you are smarter and funnier than you look." So there you go. That was kind of, that's my claim to fame. Right?
Okay.
Keep your expectations low, and then I will surprise you.
There you go. Well, I think you look brilliantly smart and funny. So, that's funny though. Yeah, I heard you mention that, and I just thought that was hilarious. So I wanted to hear a little bit more backstory. So tell us, okay, so you were a teacher in middle school, and how does a teacher transition into becoming a consultant and international speaker? How does that happen?
Well, great question. So I taught kindergarten through graduate school for 14 years, but for 10 years, I was at the middle school level. And it all kind of started one day from a comment from one of my students, and I'll call him Brian. So I was teaching 7th and 8th grade English, history, and reading recovery, which is kind of a remedial reading class. And one day I was teaching a lesson in my history class, and it was kind of complicated. It had some complicated primary source documents in it, and we were working on our inference and our summary skills, and it was a tough lesson, and a couple of my students were struggling. And one of my students, who I will call Brian, he said, "Hey, Mrs. Adams, this is really hard, and I'm not sure I get it." And I kind of made the flippant comment to him, "Brian, it's not as hard as you think. Just read it one more time, try a little bit harder, and it'll probably all click and make perfect sense." And then he said something that rocked my world. He said, "Mrs. Adams, I know that y'all probably think that I like to fight with everybody and fail my classes, but when I wake up in the morning, I pray that I'm going to be successful. And then before you know it, things are going downhill and I suck. So nobody wakes up to suck, okay? So if you can help me be successful, I would really appreciate it."
Wow.
And that completely changed how I viewed teaching, parenting, coaching, but just leadership in general, because ultimately he's asking the billion-dollar question. And that is, how do I go from suck to successful? Why do some people have this knowledge and these skills and I don't, but more importantly, can you help me? And to be honest with you, as a new teacher, I couldn't. I did not have the knowledge and the skills to help him with his emotional regulation and his behavior, but also to help him with his academics. And so that set me on a journey to learn as much as I could about neuroscience, child development, critical thinking, literacy, engagement, performance psychology. And it all boiled down to two important concepts. And when I went back and implemented those two concepts in my classes, not only did Brian's success skyrocket, but so did all of my other students. Their behavioral issues subsided, their motivation skyrocketed, and their academic achievement went through the roof. And so then before you knew it, other teachers were coming to me, parents were coming to me saying, hey, my child has done a complete 180. He is kicking butt now, and he has done nothing but struggle his whole life. And then, so I started to train teachers. Then I started to provide parent trainings. And when I would do parent trainings, a couple parents would come up who were CEOs or, lawyers or whatever. And they would say, hey, can you come in and share this with my law firm? Can you come in and train my bankers? Can you come in and train my grocery store staff? Because this applies everywhere. So then I was named Educator of the Year in 2003. And as all of this was starting to kind of come to fruition, and I was speaking a little bit more just in small groups, when I got that honor, I had to speak at 5 conferences, and I had never done that before. And I was told to put together kind of a little motivational message and then put together another training that was about critical thinking and performance and achievement. And so as I started to share these ideas at conferences, again, people would come up and say, you know what, that is so helpful. Will you come and train my whatever? And that's how it started. And so that was 16 years ago. I continued to teach for a few years after that, and then do some consulting and keynoting on the side. But I have now been out of the classroom in full-time keynoting, writing books and consulting for 10 years now.
Wow.
And it's just been such an organic process. And I've had to learn so much because I am not a business major. I am an English and a history teacher, but I love helping people. And so it all kind of started with Brian.
That's a beautiful story. And I mean, such vulnerability, there that he had to be able to express that to you, how he was feeling. And, I think it's really important for all of us to hear that. I really love that story because, like you said, as leaders, sometimes it just doesn't sink in, like why other people can't just get it, like we want to teach people things. We want to share ideas and share strategies with them. And then we wonder, why are they sitting there scratching their head? Like, why can't you just, do I have to explain it again? Like, so you mentioned that there was 2 concepts that basically in a nutshell is kind of, you have to give us the Reader's Digest version of these concepts. What are these 2?
So when it comes to neuroscience and child development and performance psychology, all of this research boils down to this. There are 2 secrets to success: sex and skills. Now, sex is an acronym. It stands for social emotional ecstasy. And it's rooted in our mental and physical health and wellness, basically. So when we are taking care of ourselves, when our basic needs are met, our Maslow needs, if you will, every time we eat healthy, or we get a good night's sleep, or we exercise, or we feel safe and connected to people, or we experience a small accomplishment, those are all kind of Maslow's basic needs. All of those little things trigger positive chemical reactions in our brain, and it charges up our battery. And so every morning we wake up with a rechargeable battery. And some of us are waking up drained, some of us are waking up fully charged, but it's all rooted in the chemical reactions that we are triggering. And so once we know a little bit about dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and cortisol, which is the draining chemical, once we know about these performance chemicals and how to trigger them so that we are charging up our batteries and increasing our creativity and our critical thinking, then that sets us up to develop skills. But a lot of times we try to force feed skills training when we're really starved for our Maslow needs.
Wow.
And so the secret to success is sex and skills. A lot of times in education, we will force feed skills, right? If a kid can't read, we give him more reading. We shove him into remediation. But if he's hungry, if he's tired, if he feels unsafe, if he doesn't have anybody, who is supporting him and encouraging him, if he hasn't had a series of small accomplishments, then what he really needs is those needs met first, because that's what charges up his battery and gives him the capacity then to learn skills. Skills requires battery charge. So we can force feed skills all we want. And same thing in the workplace. We can give a huge employee handbook to our employees, but if they are drained, if they are stressed, anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, they're not going to be as efficient in developing the skills that they need to be successful. So we really need to take a look at when somebody is struggling, is it sex that they need, social emotional ecstasy? If so, what are they lacking? How can we provide it? Or is it skills? Or is it a combination of both? And once you understand that principle, the game changes when you walk in the room.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I mean, as you're explaining it, it's like, oh man, this is the secret to success, like you said.
That's right. It's
And
all about sex and skills.
not the sex that you think, but no,
That's right.
I love that because it's almost in a way, it's like you're hacking the brain, like you're figuring out, like you said, why we feel the way that we feel is all chemically dictated, and
Right.
these 5 chemicals that you mentioned, each have their own effect. And if we can figure out how to create those on demand, if you will, then we can take control of our progress. And I think that that's amazing. Wow, I've got some learning to do because I want to learn.
Well, good thing, because I'm developing a course for you.
There you go. Awesome. Well, cool. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and shift conversation a little bit. I want to talk to you about the internet and digital marketing and social media. And has this played a role in your ability to book these speaking engagements? Like, how is it, in terms of business, what are your thoughts on the whole scene, the whole digital landscape?
Well, to be honest with you, up until this year, I have never paid a dime for marketing, funnels, any of that, because it was just organic. Every time I had the opportunity to speak, that would generate more opportunities for me to speak. And so I got kind of pigeonholed into being a keynote speaker. And my mindset was, okay, then my goal is to be a keynote, to get up on the stage and share this. And then, yeah, I've written a couple books and people can buy books. But the question that I get asked most often, as soon as I'm done speaking, is how can I learn more? How can I get more information about this? How can I get coaching from you in this? How can I share this with my colleagues and my friends and family who weren't here today? And I know it's going to blow their mind. So then I started doing just kind of one-time little webinars, but nothing evergreen, nothing consistent. And so in the last year, I have started to change my shift in terms of, you know what? One, I'm not meeting my clients' needs because I'm providing more of a one and done, kind of a drive-by keynote. giving them just enough to start changing their mindset and thinking about what they're doing, but I'm not providing them that ongoing education and support that so many of them are asking for. So one, I'm not meeting my clients' needs, and two, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. And as someone who left a very comfortable salaried position, good benefits, I was tenured, I was guaranteed a job for life, which is what happens in public education, whether you like that or not, very safe. And now I am, I'm having to pay for everything, my people, my insurance, my retirement, all of that. And so I have to kind of shift the way that I think. Digital marketing, what I have learned in the last year is, one, there are wonderful free opportunities where we can share our message and connect with potential clients, right? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. And then there are paid marketing opportunities that we can take advantage of. I think it's a double-edged sword. One, great digital marketing can camouflage a really poor product or service. I can't tell you how many times I've been suckered into buy this webinar, and it sounds amazing, and the marketing is amazing because there's this wonderful funnel that has been created for it, and all of these stats are, in my face telling me, this is going to increase your productivity by 55%, it's going to make your marriage better, it's going to make you look younger and have more energy, and it's going to solve all your problems, right? And then you buy it for whatever amount, and then it's a 30-minute webinar where someone is hiding behind a series of 200 slides, reading word for word for you. Crap. It's horrible. It's awful. And so that's the danger. But the beauty of digital marketing is that I have the opportunity to share a product or a service that I have found really valuable, but I also have the testimonials to back it up. And I can share that with people outside of my zip code, and they will have access to it as well. So I think, it's kind of the beauty and the beast of digital marketing. And so I'm learning to understand it and how to use it so that I can share my resources. But also I want to pay utmost attention to the quality that, the quality of the product and the service that I'm providing.
Absolutely. And you explained it really well. And it is a double-edged sword. I mean,
Yeah.
There are definitely, and there always have been and always will be, the charlatans out there, that are really good at making something pretty and shiny. But like you said, once you get onto you get through the door, you realize that the product is just empty. There's nothing there. Unfortunately, that's the case. And the internet has made it really easy for those types of people to get out and in front of your face. But you're right. The opportunity for people with legitimate, products and services and things that provide real value to the world, the opportunity for them, like yourself, to get out in front of people that you would never have normally been able to get in front of, it's just second to none. We've never really had this opportunity, especially for the price. If you are going to go the paid route, it's the most inexpensive attention that there's ever been. It's interesting because your story, like you said, you've grown organically. I mean, everything has been just one sort of thing led to the next thing, led to the next thing. And it's been amazing because what you're providing is amazing. People just want more of it, right? But you didn't really have like the business background. So that's kind of, I guess, in a way, what you're going through now and sort of learning is, okay, how can I turn this into an established business that, like you say, will pay my bills as well as run itself and take care of your retirement and everything like this. So I get you. It's frustrating. You got to learn the landscape. You got to figure out how to do the marketing yourself.
Exactly
But
right.
I think you're doing a great job so far, and
Thank you.
It's just one of those learning processes that never really ends,
Right.
and the thing with digital marketing too is it's constantly changing. So uh,
Yes.
it's great that you've figured it out to this point, and obviously are seeing success. What excites you the most, I guess, about the prospective marketing that you're going to do in the future about social and digital? Is there anything that's really exciting you right now?
What's really exciting me is the opportunity for people who are providing quality products and services to multiply their impact,
Hmm.
right? Multiply the value that they add. And that's what I think is so important as an entrepreneur, is to identify, okay, what are the pain points or the problems that my clients are having? How can I help solve them? And then how will my clients feel when these problems are taken care of? And how can I support them through that process? And so I love the virtual coaching that is now becoming very popular. But again, you want to do your research and make sure that, someone who's posting pretty pictures of themselves traveling the world does not necessarily mean that he or she is going to be a skillful coach and mentor. I think that just continually reflecting on, is what I'm providing adding value? When people complete my courses or when they use my product, is the feedback consistently positive and excited? Or are there questions? And so that's why I'm a firm believer in, if you have a quality product or service, offer a money back guarantee. And it's not a money back guarantee in terms of this is going to fix all your problems, but it's a money back guarantee in terms of, these are the 2 or 3 things that I promise to provide you. And when you implement them with fidelity, okay, you will see improvement. If you say that I'm not providing those to you, then I will give you your money back. But I promise, anything that I say I'm going to provide, I will over deliver on. And I think as long as you are creating something where you're willing to stand and say that, then there's no losing.
Yeah.
But that's a huge commitment, right? So I think it's really important for us to always be thinking, how can I add value and how can I add it with fidelity and integrity?
Absolutely. And it really coming from a place, like you said, of service. I mean, we're here to solve problems. We're here to serve our customers. I was speaking with another guest earlier today, and we were talking about how a lot of entrepreneurs, they get into business out of a selfish need or desire. Right?
Yes.
We want to make a lot of money, and we want to buy nice things, and sip cocktails on the beach all day. But like the reality is business is about helping the market. It's about serving your customer, and like you've done. I mean, this is the reason why you've seen such amazing growth organically, is because you focused on serving your people, and they just want more. They want more. They want more. How can I get more? If that's the problem you're facing, that is a very good problem.
Exactly. That's how you know that you're adding value, right? I love Einstein's quote, strive not to be a success, but strive to be of value. And I'll tell you, the secret to business is whoever adds the most value wins. That's it. So you can come up with something catchy or some little product where, yeah, you might sell a couple thousand or make a quick $1,000,000, but because of the power of the internet, if your quality is not there, if you don't follow through on what you say, then your reputation will be ruined before you know it. And it's really hard to recover from that.
Yeah, you
So,
never get a chance to do it again, that's for sure.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's really great advice for everybody listening. Value first. How can you serve your customer? And if you're looking at getting into business for yourself, that will save you. That will save you every time you run into a problem. It's just, okay, customer first, customer first. So that's great advice, Julie. Thank you. I want to shift the conversation one more time and ask you a little bit about work-life balance, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to give up a 40-hour work week sometimes for the 120-hour work week.
That's right.
Sometimes it's hard to balance all of the stuff
Right.
that comes with that. So how do you do that in your life? How do you manage the fun and the work?
Yeah, great question. And this is something, with stress, anxiety, and depression, feelings of overwhelm, those are the most diagnosed health issues around the world. And they are the number one reason why people are going out on permanent disability in both the private and the public sector. So this is a real thing that we're dealing with. I have a new book coming out. It's called Fully Charged Systems: The Stories, Science, and Strategies That Skyrocket Success. And one of the chapters in it talks about work-life balance versus work-life fit. And what research really shows is there's no such thing. If you want to be successful personally and professionally, there's no such thing as balance. There's fit. And there are 7 areas for us to be paying attention to if we want to live a life of value, right? And so we call it the 5 F's, 2 P's formula. And so the 5 F's are faith, family, finances, friends, and fitness, or health and wellness. And then the 2 P's are your professional success and your personal success. And so all of those pieces are basically puzzle pieces. And at different points in our lives, each of those pieces will have a bigger size or a different size based on where we are, right? And so there are times in my life, now I'm married. I have been married for 23 years. My husband he's phenomenal. He's brilliant. He is amazing. He's my best friend. And we have 2 daughters. 2 teenage daughters, and we run 5 businesses. And so there have been times in our life where for a couple of months or a year or whatever, we've been in a professional hustle mode. Okay. And we kind of have to come to an agreement. Okay, right now for the next couple of months, I need to be spending more time here, increasing our finances, and focusing on the professional aspect, which means my family and my friends those puzzle pieces are going to be smaller. But then I'm going to get to a point where my family, my friends, my fitness, all of that is going to have a larger role. And it all is based on kind of the phase of our life. One thing to keep in perspective, though, is one time I heard this analogy, and that is all of these things that we're juggling in life, right? Our family, our fitness, our finances, professional success. All of them are rubber balls, except for your family and your fitness. And so you can drop your finances, you can drop your profession, and that's a rubber ball. It's going to bounce. But your family and your health, that's a glass ball, and you can only drop those suckers a couple of times, if even that, before they sustain serious damage. Wow. And that has kind of always stuck in my mind, so even if I'm in a hustle phase and I'm focusing on this professional aspect right now, that is always playing in the back of my mind, where in the long run, it's going to be my health, it's going to be my family that is going to determine whether or not I'm truly living a life of value.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And I've never heard it like that before, but it makes total sense, Yeah, because when you think about life in general, right, what does it mean to be successful? I mean, if you can go to the grave without regrets and having relationships with people that were meaningful and valuable, and be mentally and physically healthy, I would say you've lived a successful life, in my
That's
opinion.
right.
Right.
I
uh,
agree.
and it's true. I mean, you can't do anything if your body isn't there working for you. So health is a vital aspect of any kind of success. You have to take care of your body. The physical body is super important to anything, right? Without that, you're nothing. And then relationships are key to that mental health. I mean, if you don't have people in your life that support you, love you, and that you can share ideas and things with, then you're very lonely, and
Exactly right.
nobody can benefit from a lonely situation like that.
That's
Um,
right.
so that's interesting to
And
to
if you go one step further, it's really about the chemical reactions that are being triggered,
Mhm.
right? When I'm exercising consistently, I'm decreasing my cortisol and I'm increasing my dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. And that's what's going to help charge up my creative, my critical thinking, my problem solving capacity, which helps me to be more effective in all those puzzle piece areas.
Yeah.
When I am intentionally adding value to those who I love and I care about and helping in any way that I can, again, that's decreasing my cortisol and increasing those happy, positive, critical thinking chemicals. And so we always need to just be mindful of what chemical reactions are we triggering in ourselves? And is that going to help us be successful in the long run? Or do we need to make adjustments? But also, what types of chemical reactions are we triggering in others? When we come into the room, do people say, oh, here she is again? Or do people say, yes, she's here, he's here, fantastic. Now the games begin, right? I mean, it's always just being mindful of those chemical reactions that we're triggering.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's really like that practical, strategic approach to generating that success that you're talking about, and that's why I really love, and I'm so happy we connected and got to talk about.
Yeah,
I love what you teach because it is that. I mean, it's a step by step thing. Like people can do certain things to create these chemicals in their brain to create the environment and the feeling that they want. You know,
that's right.
and I love that, and then yeah, it just makes so much sense too when you look at things from uh, that perspective of like the juggling balls. Bringing it back to that. There's certain areas in life that really need focus, but understanding that it's fluid. And you have to be able
Right.
to be flexible, but never forget anything.
That's right.
So that's a great concept, and I really want to learn more about the neuroscience behind it because I'm the kind of person that I geek out on that kind of stuff, and if I can find a way to give myself more energy or make myself more motivated or anything like that, like I will do it. So I'm really interested to learn more about that.
Well, you will be perfect for my fully charged and fierce mastermind course then.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait till that comes out. I will definitely take that. Well, cool.
Great.
Well, this has been a blast. I have one more question for you, Julie. I want to ask, and that
Yes,
is,
sir.
looking back on your journey, which has been amazing, and honestly, from my perspective, flawless. But we all know that there's issues,
Oh.
in the day to day. So, looking back from where you are today, what is some advice that you would give yourself, maybe 5 years, 10 years ago?
Well, I think probably one of the things that I really struggled with is, growing up, I didn't come from a perfect family situation. I often was stressed. I got into trouble in school. I was often kicked out of class for talking. I got kicked out of a school. Um, I had a lot of inner turmoil, and as a result, way too much cortisol in my brain and body. Um, and I developed what's called the Rizzo effect, right? The tough girl attitude. I can do this myself. I don't need anybody's help. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm struggling. Um, I'm not going to ever appear weak. Um, and then if somebody offers me help, I'm never going to take it. And so I wish I had learned earlier that one, the purpose of life is to strengthen, encourage, and care for others. Period. That's the only time the chemicals get perfectly balanced in your brain. But it starts with strengthening, encouraging, and caring for yourself. Forgiving yourself a little bit for the mistakes that you've made, having the courage to turn your tests into your testimony, and strengthen, encourage, and care for others so that they can do the same, right? So I wish I had figured that out early on. It's not about me putting on a facade and pretending everything is perfect and I'm strong, I got this, I don't need anybody. I think that when we really look at the big picture, we're all interconnected. And if we can, again, strengthen, encourage, and care for others, while we are strengthening, encouraging, and caring for ourselves, not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to accept help, not being afraid to say, you know what, I suck at this. Just like Brian was saying, I suck, but I want to be successful. Please help me. If everybody had that type of honesty and humility and courage, can you imagine? I mean, it would completely change the way that we serve each other and that we interact with each other. And so ultimately, it's about just helping people be successful. How do we do that? By strengthening, encouraging, and caring for them in our gifts. And our gifts are developed as the result of struggle. That's it. Muscle grows stronger as the result of resistance. I'll be honest with you, Corey, I have never met a successful, interesting, fascinating person who's had an easy life. Ever.
Yeah, it's true.
And so turning your test into your testimony, teaching others what you have learned it's invaluable.
That's beautiful.
And then being courageous enough to ask for help when you need it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know everything about digital marketing and branding and business, but I do know that I believe in the service that I provide. So when I hear people say, I was just in the grocery store the other day and I was overhearing these people talking and they're like, I'm so stressed, I'm so drained, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't take it anymore. And I thought, I can help you. And I didn't, though. I didn't say, you know what, I have a couple of free resources, or do you know anything about this? I left. And then that night I kept thinking about them. So that's how you know that's what your calling is. That's what your gifting is. It's when people say, I have this problem and you have the solution, but you don't provide it. And then you feel guilty. So that's how you know you're operating in your calling, you're gifting, you're developing it in a way, but also we're here to strengthen, encourage, and care for others. So if you can do it, I encourage you to take the step and go out and do it, because there are people out there hoping and praying that you rise to the level of your calling so you can help them rise to the level of their calling.
Beautiful. I love it. And that is 100% truth.
Thank you.
I'm speechless. So I'm just going to say thank you. You have brought the strength, encouragement, and care to the podcast today. And for our people, I really, really appreciate you, Julie. Tell them where they can find you and what you got going on in your world today.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my website is effectiveteachingpd, as in professionaldevelopment.com. The best way to get updates on what I'm going to be providing is through my newsletter. So go there, sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to be rolling out 3 mastermind online courses with virtual group coaching. The courses are fully charged educators, fully charged families, and fully charged and fierce for professionals and entrepreneurs. Those are going to be rolling out soon. And my Twitter and Instagram handle is Adams Teaching. So I would love to connect with you. And please, if anything, just reach out and let me know. how you're turning your test into your testimonies and strengthening, encouraging, and caring for others, because I love that stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Julie. I'll definitely link all of that stuff down below in the show notes for you guys.
Thank you.
Please go check out Julie and her website. I mean, there is incredible content there, all about self-development and productivity and just using that brain that's in between these two ears for the best.
Right.
So, Julie, thank you again. I've loved
My
having you on
pleasure.
today,
Thank you.
and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.